The Metroid Prime series is near and dear to the hearts of Nintendo fans, but which game is the crowning jewel of the series?
Let's go!
Now, we're going to be discussing Prime 1, 2, and 3, and we'll be ignoring Hunters, Pinball, and Federation Force, because
I forgot about Federation Force.
they're not really in the running.
Yeah.
Not so much. We want to know which of the main 3 games is the best. And when I first thought of this episode idea, I thought, this might be too easy to say. But looking back on the series, it's really not.
There's not.
Some good merits to each game, wouldn't you say?
I would definitely agree with you, and there's pluses and minuses to all of them.
Yeah.
Let's get started right away. Just talking about the pluses and minuses, and then we can talk about which one's best.
All right.
The original.
Metroid Prime.
Metroid Prime for the Gamecube. It definitely was, it had the shock value. Like, up to that point, Metroid had been 2D.
Yes.
Games had typically, at that point, either made or not made the jump to 3D.
Right.
And
back in the 64 era.
Yeah.
I thought it was already done.
I didn't about to say back in the 60s. I'm like, okay, it wasn't that long ago, man.
64 era.
Yeah.
Metroid was like the last series to do it.
Yeah. And so people were wondering, is it going to be good? Is it not?
Yeah.
Blew people away.
I thought you were going to say something about blue people. Blue people loved it. Red people, not so much.
You think I'm racist. I'm not racist. Okay.
Yeah.
But it had the loneliness and the atmosphere that you were all alone. You had these 4 different beams that you could switch between, which is it is a different system used in all 3 games. But that led to some interesting puzzles, and certain enemies are weak to this, aren't weak to this. And then the one downside I could think to Metroid Prime is it didn't have fast travel.
Yeah.
So if you needed to get from one place to another, sure, there were a lot of elevators, but you couldn't just use your ship and fly.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So I agree. This one was the original, so it had that wow factor. It's like, oh man, I'm inside Samus's helmet.
Yes.
Seeing through her visor and all that. And every time there's the first of something, you can never really replicate that first time experience, no matter how many sequels. It's like Toy Story, it's like Bionicle. 2001 was the best, and everything else was, kind of trying to chase that. That's the same with everything. I think Metroid Prime had the best soundtrack. Yeah,
and I would agree with you there.
Also, a big plus for this game is that it had the most memorable locations. It had Vendrana Drifts, Torvis Bog.
That was Metroid Prime 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Magmore Caverns.
Yeah.
The Phazon Mines.
The soundtrack's playing in my mind right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then what was the place Talon 4?
Talon 4 is the place.
Or Ivy.
Yep.
So I can think of, like I said, Taurus Bog, but also like Phase is like the only one I can think of from Prime 3. So yeah, Metroid Prime had the most memorable locations. So it has a lot going for it, but Prime 2 Echoes is not to have a stick shaken at it either.
No.
It had the creepiest atmosphere. And
it did.
I remember just loving that. Getting into the first game, you open up to this tragic scene where all like the Federation people have died, and then they're coming back at you like zombies. And I remember I loved that because it's like, yes, I'm playing a Nintendo game, it's rated T, but it's pretty mature at the same time. So.
Yeah, because you knew that you were putting on your big boy pants when you were playing Metroid Prime 2.
Yeah, it also had a multiplayer mode, which I had a lot of fun with, and I still do on the Trilogy version. So
indeed. For me, Metroid Prime 2, I would have to say this one definitely isn't the best. Not that it's bad. I think that the ammo was really just a bad idea, having the ammo with the different beams, because you either felt like you couldn't use it, or once you had used it, it takes forever to get it back, so you don't want to use it.
Yeah.
just kind of a pain. Also, the reused assets. Like, you felt like every enemy that you faced was like, oh, I saw this guy in the last game.
Right.
But it did have, the 2 different worlds, which led to some issues there. But the last, I do have to say, in my opinion, the last section of bosses where you fought the Ing King, Emperor Ing, whatever his name was. I don't think it was Ing King, but the Emperor Ing.
Splatoon.
Yeah.
Inklings.
Yeah. It wasn't him, but the Emperor Ing and then Dark Samus. I thought that was really good because it, like, even after you fought the Emperor Ing and you were going against Dark Samus, you had a time limit. You're like, oh no, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I thought that did the ending bosses really, really well, maybe even better than the original. But I still don't think that it can hold a candle to the other 2.
Yeah, it's probably not the best one in the series, but I also, after thinking about this, need to remember that it's not a bad game. I shouldn't think of it that way. I shouldn't remember it unfondly.
True.
It has a lot going for it. So then there's Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, and this is going to be a tough call. This one introduced voice acting, and it did a good job at it. It wasn't cheesy voice acting.
No.
It also was the first one on Wii, which introduced motion and pointer controls, which enhanced a lot. I mean, now Metroid Prime and Prime 2 can be played with motion controls, but it was huge because the original games weren't even dual analog, but in this game you could finally move and aim independently, and it worked really well. And also there were some cool motion controls. I felt like with the grapple beam, that was fun to do with the nunchuck. Throw it out, rip people's shields off. It implemented it well. And then there's that epic conclusion with Dark Samus where she's doing like the slow motion cartwheels and stuff, and you've been tracking her down for the length of 2 whole games at that point, and you're finally getting to conclude the arc.
Yes.
And it might not have had the most memorable soundtrack, but it had a memorable soundtrack.
Still very good.
Learned a few on the keyboard. Yes.
Yes. Yes, that intro.
People should go watch our humming competition.
Yes. Oh my
brings
goodness.
back some good memories.
We need to do that again.
Okay.
That's another game we need to play.
Yeah.
For me, Metroid Prime 3, it was really good. And for a long time, it was, like, in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, 3 got it better than the first 2.
Yeah.
The quick travel was a really nice feature. The stacking of beams was nice, not to have to switch between them.
Yep.
It didn't lead to as many interesting puzzles as the original. It's kind of a trade-off, but still. The different worlds I thought were really cool. I think Elysia, the Skytown planet, I really, really enjoyed that as a dungeon. I think it's one of the Nintendo's best dungeons. But a lot of the just planets didn't really pop, like Brio. It was just kind of jungly.
Yeah.
That's it. And so I also think that it kind of ruined the atmosphere of the dialogue. Like I liked that it had a story to it and you could follow the story, but you didn't ever feel alone like you did in the original game.
That's true.
So, in conclusion, in talking about which one's the best and which one's the worst, well, I think Metroid Prime 2 is the worst.
Least best.
Is the least best. Yeah, it's not a terrible game. Please do play through that game. But to me, it's really, really hard. I might have to go with the original just because of the atmosphere pushing it over the edge.
I would say in 2007, Prime 3 is probably the best one. But I think now that there's new play control and the Trilogy version on Wii where you can play the original with a lot of the benefits that were introduced in Corruption, I'd say Metroid Prime came back out on top again. So
I'm going to have to agree with you.
It's a fantastic game. It still looks good, which is incredible.
Yeah, definitely the GameCube's best looking game.
Yeah.
I think we have to hand it to Metroid.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of the crew.
Don't forget to share this video with your friends and also share your opinions in the comments below.
See you next time.
Signing out.